Alright, what's going on today, YouTube? Welcome back to your favorite cyclist YouTube channel. This week, we're talking about the difference between a mountain bike and a fat bike. But before we get into today's video, if you are new to my channel, make sure you head down below, hit that subscribe button for me. If you already are subscribed, make sure you hit that bell icon right next to that. That way you get notified every time I upload. That way you don't miss any of this awesome cycling content we got on this channel. So right onto the video, we were talking about the difference between a good old mountain bike that everybody knows and loves and a fat bike. So before we get into this, let's talk about what we have here in front of us. So of course, right over here, this is my good old trusty 2014 Trek Superfly 5 Hardtail. I've ridden this bike for a long time and I love the way this bike feels. So like I said, it is a hardtail, which means it only has a front suspension on here. It is a 29-inch tire as well. Now over on this side, we have my Mongoose Beast steel single-speed fat bike here that I picked up last winter. And about a blast of this bike, we did a whole bunch of modifications to it, but this bike runs a 26-inch tire on here. So let's talk about the difference. We'll start over here with the mountain bike. We'll talk about basics of mountain bikes and what you're looking for in a mountain bike first, and then move to the fat bike, and of course we'll compare them from there. Alright, so there's going to be a lot of similarities between a mountain bike and of course a fat bike, but we're going to talk about things that are specific to a mountain bike. So generally any mountain bike you buy now is going to be a full suspension mountain bike, so it's going to have suspension front and rear on the bike. Or you're still going to find bikes like this that are a hardtail with just the front suspension. You're not going to find very many fat bikes with a full suspension setup. You're still going to find some with just the front suspension on there, but full suspension on fat bikes is not very common at all. Along for that, when you go for a mountain bike, you're generally going to have a lot more selections of wheel and tire options as well. Mountain bikes you can find in a 26-inch, 27.5, and a 29er as well. So this guy's got a 29-inch here. Fat bikes you're only going to find in a 26-inch. And that's pretty much it. There's some odd options in there, but pretty much fat bikes are going to come in a 26-inch wheel. With that being the case, so there being so many different wheel size options, there are of course tons of tire options. It's much more common to see a mountain bike out on the trail, and for someone to buy a mountain bike and want to change their mountain bike up. So you're going to find all sorts of different options for tires from pretty much every brand out there. Going to make some kind of option for a mountain bike, whether it's 26-inch, 27.5, or a 29. And whatever that width may be, everything from a standard, 1.5 inches up to, 2.8, up to a 3-inch, up to a plus size bike. So you're gonna have lots of different options for tires on here. Versus a fat bike, you're gonna be very limited on that. Along with that, parts availability for a mountain bike is gonna be much more common. Like I said, everybody rides a mountain bike. There's mountain bikes everywhere. People are gonna want their parts available to them. If you go to a bike shop and you look for mountain bike parts, guess what? They're probably going to have something in stock that'll work for you, or they'll be able to find it pretty easy and get it in stock and get it ready for you. Pretty easy. Fat bike, not quite the case, and we'll get to that in a second. Along with that, mountain bikes are generally going to be the lighter of the two bikes, just due to the fact you don't have the giant tires, giant wheels, and the frame is going to be a little bit smaller than a fat bike. And I'll go to that in a second with the fat bike, but you're going to have a lighter bike if you were to compare apples to apples with a fat bike and a regular mountain bike. And that roughly covers the mountain bike, so let's move over to the fat bike and let's talk about specifics to a fat bike. So let's move on to fat bikes. Now I have a very interesting fat bike setup here, obviously a steel, single speed, but we're talking about fat bikes in general here, and this bike is a very good representation of all those things for fat bikes. So, fat bike, obviously the biggest thing with fat bike is fat tires. That's the biggest thing there. This bike runs a 26x4 tire, 4-inch wide tire, big old tire on here. I believe it's right around a 3.5 inches where they consider your bike all of a sudden a fat bike. If you go past 3.5 inches and up, you have a fat bike. Anything below that is going to be a plus size bike instead. So that's the big deal with the fat bike. So where would you take a fat bike? So fat bikes, a big reason behind them is flotation. These tires are gigantic, which gives you a big contact patch on the ground, which allows you to float over certain obstacles. And mainly those obstacles are going to be snow and sand, the biggest two things that fat bikes are known for. And the reason for that is you can run these 4-inch wide tires down to single digit PSI, below 5 PSI, to get maximum flotation out of them. For instance, in the winter time when there's snow here in Reno, I run these tires about 2 PSI front and rear, and it floats over the snow like it's not even there. It's something incredible, and it's very different than you would get on a mountain bike. The mountain bike will just sink right through the snow. This, you float right on top of it. So that's the big reason why you would want to go for a fat bike, is if you're looking for that extra flotation in sand or snow conditions. Really where it's going to come in handy. So what's different about a fat bike than just your standard mountain bike? So with a fat bike, you're generally going to have a larger frame in general. You obviously have a larger distance between your rear triangles, larger distance between your front fork, in order to actually fit those big old tires in there. you're gonna need that extra width in order to clear the tires. Along with that being the case, with that extra distance between the fork and the rear triangle, you're gonna need a special fat bike wheel set for the bike. That's right, wheels on a fat bike do not translate to a mountain bike. You can't switch back and forth between the two. And that is because the hub on the fat bikes are much wider than you would find on a standard mountain bike. Part of the reason why this bike is set up as a single speed with a coaster brake, because finding fat bike specific wheels, it's kind of tough. They're not really out there. There's only a few brands that make those. With that, there's also only a few brands that make tires for fat bikes. So finding something different or finding exactly the tread pattern you have, it's a little tougher with a fat bike. There's just not as many options out there. You kind of have to you get what you can get and you don't throw a fit is the best way to put that for a fat bike. You get what you get, can't throw a fit, and you just ride what you can get. Along with that, of course, everything's bigger, so therefore more expensive. These tires on my fat bike are about $20, $30 more than the tires on my mountain bike. So you spend a lot more on a fat bike tire. Of course, big tire, more rubber, costs more to make. Along with that, bottom bracket, gonna be different as well. Bottom brackets on these are also wider in order to clear that rear tire. So you do need a specific fat bike bottom bracket if you were to try and switch this out or try and upgrade your bottom bracket on there. Now with the mountain bike, we said, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of full suspension and then some hardtails are what you're gonna find. Fat bikes, most of the ones you're going to see are fully rigid, just like this bike here. Fully rigid, no rear suspension, no front suspension. This is what you're going to find. They do make a hardtail version, which is going to be a front suspension on there. I believe RockShox makes one, RST makes a fork. There are a lot of companies out there that make forks for these bikes, so you can run a front suspension on there. There's some that come with them. But realistically, with the suspension, it's not as necessary. When you're running your tires at 2 PSI in the wintertime, these are still giant tires, and 2 PSI in there gives you a lot of flotation and a lot of shock absorption. You really don't need a front suspension on a fat bike. You really don't need a rear suspension on a fat bike. You can get away with a fully rigid bike, save yourself the weight of the suspension, and run it just like this, run a lower pressure in your tires, and have all the shock absorption you would ever need on a fat bike. Along with that, you're riding them in the snow and the sand, and in general, snow and sand are pretty smooth surfaces. They're not really a whole bunch of rocks or anything like that. Now, some people do take their fat bikes out on mountain bike trails, and that's awesome. Cool, good for you. The main purpose of these is snow and sand. Not really going to need a suspension fork in those cases. With that, fat bike's going to be heavier. That's just the way it is. It's going to be heavier. So let's cover kind of the basics of a fat bike. So fat bike, mountain bike, which one is the right choice for you? I would say for about 90% of the people watching this video, a regular mountain bike is going to be what you're looking for. It's just going to be much more versatile. It's going to be able to do a lot more things than a fat bike can. Sure, you can do a lot of mountain biking, a lot of road riding on a fat bike. I will tell you from experience, doing a ride on the road or riding to the trail or doing a mountain bike ride, it's a lot more difficult on the fat bike. These 4-inch wide tires make a huge difference in rolling resistance. It takes a lot more effort to ride this fat bike around than it does a mountain bike. If you're looking for your first bike out there, a mountain bike is going to be the option for you. Get yourself a mountain bike, whether that be an older 26-inch, a 27.5, or even a 29er. You're going to find that mountain bike to be a lot more versatile than you would a fat bike. In my case, my mountain bike is the one I go for 3 seasons out of the year. I go for the mountain bike because it's able to take whatever I need it to take, whether it's riding to the trail, riding dirt, a little bit of snow patch, a little bit of ice, it's okay. This bike can take care of that. Now come that last season of the year, good old winter when Mr. Snow comes around, the fat bike is the star of the show, and that's because of that flotation. Sure, it takes a lot more effort to pump around these big old fat tires here than it would just your standard mountain bike tires, but the ability to float on top of the snow versus sink inside the snow like you would on a standard mountain bike makes so much of a difference in the wintertime. So for the 10% of you guys watching this video that either have a bike already, have a mountain bike, live in the snow full time, live in the desert full time, and want something with that extra flotation, a fat bike is going to be the nice way to go. It's going to give you very similar benefits to a mountain bike, but it's going to give you that flotation you need while you're out there. Sure, it'll be a little harder to ride around with on normal conditions, but for those extreme conditions you run into, this is going to be the better option for you. So hopefully this video helps you learn the difference between a mountain bike and a fat bike and which one might be the best option for you. And you got to learn that really they're very similar. They just have different environments that they excel in the most. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Appreciate the support. Any comments or questions, let me know down in the comment section below. Love chatting with you guys. Love answering any questions you guys have. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching today.